Hey now, Brawlers, it's time for another Board Game Brawl review with Nick Minahan, sponsored by BoardGameBliss.com. Hey now, today we're going to take a look at the Twin Shadows expansion for Star Wars Imperial Assault. Now, since Imperial Assault was released last holiday season, there have been a ton of small expansions for the game. When I say small, they're just like little villain and hero packs. Not even heroes, they're just like rebel packs. So it's more, for the campaign mode, it's more villains for the Imperial player to deploy, more allies with like little side missions for the Rebel players, and then of course you can use all this stuff in the skirmish mode, which I don't play. I tried it out, wasn't really for me, so I'm not really going to comment that much on that, or what Twin Shadows brings to the table for the skirmish mode for this review, just to let you know. But this is the first big box expansion for Imperial Assault, almost a year ago at this point that the base game was released. And this has two brand new heroes for the Rebel players to play as, a tank and a techie. Then you have new troops for the Imperial player to deploy, Tuscan Raiders and heavy stormtroopers, a bunch of new map tiles, new stuff for the skirmish mode if you're into it, like just new skirmish maps and victory point cards for that, and then a bunch of new class cards for the Imperial player and of course for the new characters. I'll tell you what's not in it, and that would be the person on the cover of the box, Boba Fett. Now there is a token for him and a card, but there's no miniature for him. There's no like side mission cards or anything like that, or equipment cards. Those are in a separate small expansion that you have to buy. I don't know why they did that. Okay, wait, let me take that back. I know why they did that. The cynical part of me knows why they did that. I just wish that they didn't. But regardless of that, let me go ahead and give you a brief look at everything that comes in the Twin Shadows expansion. Then we're going to come back. I'll let you know what I think. Alright, I'm going to show you the stuff that comes in the Twin Shadows expansion for Star Wars Imperial Assault. Now, obviously, there is a campaign book that comes with the game that will describe some of the new rules and tell you what's coming in the expansion, but also the campaign guide for the Imperial player. I'm obviously not going to show you that because I don't want to spoil anything, but there is a full set of missions that you can go through in the expansion. There is also a special map for the skirmish game detailing the Mos Eisley Cantina. And speaking of that, we'll start off with that. Here are all the new map tiles that come in the Twin Shadows expansion. Mos Eisley Cantina, as you can see, but also these are double-sided. So you have these Imperial rooms here, and so on and so forth, just to give you a taste of the new types of terrain that you might run into in this expansion. Now, obviously, a big selling point for the expansion are the two brand new hero characters that the non-Imperial players can play as. We start off with Biv Bodrick, who is the Vengeful Gorilla, and as you might imagine, he is another tank character. So you see he has pretty good hit points and not so good speed compared to some of the other characters. He has an ability called Close and Personal. You can exhaust him and take 2 strain to perform a melee attack using 1 red and 1 yellow die, then perform an additional attack with a ranged weapon targeting the same figure, so you have a lot of versatility there. He also has Deadly Precision. You can take a strain, use while attacking to re-roll one of your attack die. Sorry, and by exhaust, I meant just use an action. I just got done playing a game where that symbol meant exhaust. Then we'll take a look at some of his gear cards, starting gear and experience leveling up cards that he has with him. He starts with a repeating blaster. You can spend a surge to get +1 accuracy, and those are the dice that it uses. Once you get some experience points under you can get things like the trophy armor, gives him +4 health. He can exhaust a card while defending to re-roll a defense die. The Vibro Bayonet, which is while performing Close and Personal, that's his the one that lets him make the 2 types of attacks. The melee attack gains +1 damage, Pierce 1, and Bleed. Then here's some of the other things he has. He has Shake It Off. You can exhaust this card at the start of activation to test your strength. If you roll 2 or more successes, you may recover 1 strain or discard a harmful condition. Then there's a lot of other ones. I'm not going to go through all of them. Into the Fray, Stay Down, so on and so forth. Then you have, let me focus in here, you have Saska Teft. Saska Teft is a technician, a techie, and she is really good at making these little devices, which there's actually a new type of token in the game. These are her device tokens. She can give these to other players and to herself in order to kick off other different special abilities. So that is actually the first ability detail on her sheet here. She can take a strain during her activation for her an adjacent friendly figure to claim a device token only once per turn or activation. Then she has practical solutions. When a figure declares an attack, it can discard one of those device tokens to apply a surge to the attack result. While performing an attribute test, a figure may discard one of those device tokens in order to re-roll one of the dice. Then we'll take a look at some of her equipment and gear cards. She's going to start with the Modified Blaster, which, as you can see, is very, very versatile. She can use her surges for a number of different things there. Then, as you might imagine, a lot of her cards have to deal with those device tokens. So, Energy Shield. While defending, a figure may discard a device token to apply either an evade or one of these, I forget the name of that, symbols to their defense results, defense symbols. This ability may be used multiple times per attack. Unstable device, essentially you can just like set a bomb with one of the devices, throw it into a square and have it deal damage. Gadgeteer, her Battle Technician ability, which is to give people device tokens, can be used up to twice per activation instead, and you can attach an additional modification to each of your weapons, and so on and so forth. Oh, and I suppose I will show you the actual models for each of them, because they are pretty cool and typical Fantasy Flight, typical Fantasy Flight quality. There you go, that's the word I was struggling for. There is Biv, Belle Biv DeBow, and there is Saska. Oh, these Star Wars names. While we're at it, I'll just go ahead and show you the models for the two new types of enemies that the Imperial player can make use of. You have the Tuscan Raiders with their gaffy sticks, and then you have the heavy stormtroopers with their long assault rifles. Alright, just to rapid fire go through some of these other things, I'll show you the cards for those new enemy figures in a moment. You see you come with some extra tokens of stuff that you already had in the base game. There is a new type of status together with the cards and the tokens. This is the weakened condition. What the weakened condition says is that when you are attacking, you have one less surge with your results, and when you're defending, you have one less evade, and obviously that's going to go away at the end of your activation. There are new NPC tokens for C-3PO, R2-D2, Boba Fett, and then this elite stormtrooper named, I think Kane is his name. Now, there are actual minis that you can buy separately in little booster packs for these. In fact, I did buy the Boba Fett pack. But for now, if you don't want to go ahead and buy those, you can just use these whenever the missions call for them. Then you have skirmish cards, determining how you get victory points. Remember, I don't really play skirmish mode, so I'm not going to go into that into too much detail. There are the side quest cards, or the side plot cards. You have new agenda cards for the Imperial player. I don't really want to show you those, I know, because I don't want to spoil little bits of blurb and story, stuff like that. Rewards deck. There is a new class deck for the Imperial player. We can take a look at that. I don't think that would be spoiling too much there. So let's take a look at a few of these new cards. You have cards like optional tactics. While attacking other Imperial figures within 3 spaces of a friendly leader, apply 1 damage to their attack results and may re-roll 1 attack die. You have Field General. This is an attachment to a Guardian leader or trooper only. This is, let me get in a little bit closer on that. Exhaust this card. You gain, spend an action, Executive Order. Choose a friendly figure within 2 spaces. This figure may interrupt to perform a move or attack. So these are kind of like a buffing cards. So if you think of things like the Warlord from D&D, there's a good idea of what this is like. Strategic Planning. Exhaust this card in one of your deployment cards before activating a group. Ready another of your deployment cards of equal or lesser deployment costs. Each figure corresponding to both deployment cards gains 1 movement point. And then your typical rogues galleries of all the different types of cards that come in Imperial Assault, the command cards and the loot cards and so on. And then here are the deployment cards. Just a few of each of these. I'll show you these. You've got the cards for like R2-D2 and C-3PO and all of their stats. They're elite and normal cards. There's C-3PO. There's the 2 new characters in the game, Saska and Biv. And then you've got the Tuscan Raiders and Boba Fett himself. Sorry, there you go. Who, again, you can purchase Boba Fett stuff separately if you really want. And then elite and normal Tuscan Raider cards. And then you've got the there's Kane Somos and the Heavy Stormtroopers cards. So take a look there. The Heavy Stormtroopers have composite plating while defending. If the attacker is 4 or more spaces away, you apply 1 defense to the defense results, and there you go. And I'll show you with the Tuscan Raider what they can do. Their special ability, they have... So, hold on one second. They have Tuscan Cycler. Perform a ranged attack using 1 blue and 1 red die. You cannot use abilities during this attack. All right, so that's just a really quick run through of what comes in Twin Shadows. There's not like a lot of complicated stuff. This is not like a game-changing type of expansion. It's just adding more characters, more units to deploy for the Imperial player, new map tiles. Just more of what you hopefully already like from the original Imperial Assault. Certainly not going to change anyone's mind, but there's just more stuff to love or not, depending on how much you love Imperial Assault. Now, let's get to my final thoughts. Well, as I just mentioned in the overview, this is definitely one of those expansions that is nothing at all drastically different or new. I mean, there's new things. I mean, there's new abilities. I think that the one of the new characters, Saksa's ability, is neat, and it kind of breaks the mold of what the other characters can do. But that's just an example. But really, again, this is just more of the same as an expansion. And I don't mean that as a pejorative, because if you love Imperial Assault, I like Imperial Assault quite a bit. I don't keep up with it enough to love it the way that some other people do. But whether you really like it or you love it, this is more of the same, and that's a fantastic thing. They didn't have to reinvent the wheel. And the fact that this is the first big box expansion, you know, this is what people were clamoring for. They were clamoring for something more than just a miniature and a couple of cards. This is a lot of miniatures and a lot of cards and map tiles, and enough to flesh out like a whole Twin Shadows campaign. And I didn't want to give spoilers for that. I haven't played through the entire campaign. I played through a couple of missions. And it's interesting. I mean, the thing about these kind of games and like Descent and everything like that, these are not RPGs. They're supposed to simulate a very light RPG experience. So the storyline is okay. There are some really cool allies that pop in and out, so there is that, but it's nothing to really write home about. Of course, the best part about Imperial Assault is the gameplay, and I think there's a lot of fun stuff that comes in this box. I already mentioned the techie, Saksa, was one of the characters. I think that's a lot of fun. She's got a really neat ability. It's kind of tough to use. I wouldn't necessarily give her to someone who's playing for the first time. I'd say, here, just play the Wookiee and hit things really hard until they stop moving. But the fact that with the whole devices and how they work with her class cards is pretty cool. Then you have a new tank-type character, Biv, who his abilities are really cool as well. I really like that. It's a nice alternative to the Wookiee as far as someone who can deal a lot of damage and also take a fair amount of damage more than a lot of the other players can. The new troops are for the Imperial player are cool, like the heavy stormtroopers and the Tuscan Raiders. You have a new set of class cards to utilize to give you more variability, and like I said in the overview, they're kind of like the Warlord I compare them to. That's what I'd compare anything like that whenever I run across it in a game, where you're just like buffing the other units and giving them buffing them all and giving them lots of ability, like you there, do that, yelling out orders, things like that. I think that's a pretty cool thing, the inspiring leadership cards. So, and the new map tiles, that's probably one of the things that I think I myself, not having played Imperial Assault like a ton and still not exhausting the base game of everything that it's worth, haven't run into this problem, but I have heard other people say, I wish there was more map tiles, more variants, and setting up the different scenarios and things like that. Well, now you have that. It's not a ton of stuff, but it's Mos Eisley Cantina and then like an Imperial base type thing. But that's really cool, just having more stuff to do, especially if you're into the skirmish mode, which I'm not. I understand that a lot of people are. Some people love it more than the campaign mode. Kudos to you. Now you have even more stuff for that. So it's a solid expansion. Can't really complain at all. If you, like I said, if you love Imperial Assault, you hopefully already have this. If you like Imperial Assault and you're like, it was okay, I kind of want to revisit it, give this one a shot. The sad part is there's no Boba Fett. That's stupid. But maybe this will rekindle your potential love of the game, and maybe you'll run out and buy some of those smaller expansions. I will say that I wanted to play with, I don't even know if I should say this, but I wanted to play with a certain character who will pop up in one of the missions so badly that I was at Cool Stuff, I ran over to the counter and bought one of them just to put it to the game, because I hate not having the miniature. So, okay. I guess I'm drinking a little bit of the Imperial Assault Kool-Aid, but it's a solid game. This is a solid expansion. Check it out if you're into it. That is the Twin Shadows expansion for Star Wars Imperial Assault from Fantasy Flight Games. Thanks for watching. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon. And make sure to check out our sponsor, Board Game Bliss, where you can find an amazing selection of games from around the world. BoardGameBliss.com. Thanks for your support.